I don't think we've got anybody yet.
I don't know. I can't tell. And I'm not sure where it shows. I don't know. I think it'll show up someplace.
Oh, Mark. Mark just said it looks good. So we got one person.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
So I don't know where. You're going to have to forgive me because of the fact we are using some new technology, and I'm trying to figure it all out. And so I'm looking at the screen and trying to see where things
I see it.
show.
In the corner, it showed up.
Right here?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't hardly see it, though. My eyes are getting old. So.
Move that. I can't move that. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hi.
And I can show them, like feature them.
Oh, look at that. Very cool. So.
Okay, we're going to wait till we get a few more.
That's right, Bart.
See there, Bart.
Yep.
Old people
with new technology.
Exactly. I want to highlight him. So if I do that.
What happens? See? Oh, look at that, Bart. You showed up on our screen. Can everybody else see that? Mark, can you see Bart's little...
Yeah, everybody can see that.
Well, very cool. Old people, new technology. Exciting.
I'm going to be playing all sorts of stuff tonight.
So, all right.
We're excited to have you, Christina. So the reason for the new technology is that next week, a week from today, Monday, May 18th, we are doing a tasting of 3 Dusted Valley Vintners wines. Dusted Valley is a winery out of Walla Walla, Washington, and we're going to have as a guest one of the owners, winemaker, owner. It's actually 2 couples, but Corey Burnell from Dusted Valley is going to be on. Oh, I know what I was going to get when I went to the kitchen. I was going to get a napkin.
Oh, okay.
To swirl. And so they're going to be on and hanging out with us and tasting through the wines and answering your questions. And I'm going to ask them some questions that I want to ask, of course. Thank you. We love our place too. Hi, Heidi.
I had to get a napkin.
All right. She's going to get a napkin because when I swirl on the table, it can be kind of loud. So we're going to make sure we don't do that. So tonight's lineup. Anyway, so did I finish my thought? I don't even remember. My brain is not connected, not turned on today. Crazy day. And so Corey's going to join us, and then we're going to taste through, and he's going to answer all sorts of questions for you, for me, for everybody, and all of that. In addition, next week, Monday, maybe about 6:45 p.m., we're going to start a little bit early next week, and it's not. You don't have to join us. If you want, you can. But as we announced a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was we announced, next week, Monday, a week from today, is our wedding anniversary, the 18th.
18 years.
18 years on the 18th.
Is that golden?
Is that like a golden anniversary?
Is that a thing? Is that a thing? So, yes.
I don't know. Is that a thing? I know golden birthday.
It's golden wedding anniversary.
Golden wedding anniversary.
So it's 18
years on the 18th. That means you're going to get me something gold?
And moving forward, I don't know. Would you stop going on tangents?
No.
Throw it in. Bring it on back.
Okay. So I don't like the way the camera fluctuates. You waved your hand and it went all.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, so we're going to start a little bit early next week, and we are going to open a bottle of bubbles and hang out and sip and enjoy.
Yes. And as far as bubbles, we will be opening a bottle of champagne. Have not decided which one yet. It'll be one from the shop. If anybody wants to join us with bubbles of any sort or pick the same bottle up, we'll put that on Facebook, what we're going to open. And you can join us at toasting our 18th wedding anniversary with either your bubbles or what we are drinking also.
Right. Does that make sense? Bubbles. Drink more sparkling.
Drink more sparkling. Yes.
All right. So wines for tonight. We have the King Crawford Reserve Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough, New Zealand. It is the 2018. Then we have, and this is the order we're going to taste them. We have the 2016 Redwood Red.
Oh, look at that. The screen is not, I can't do that.
The camera is like annoying. Anyway, that's the Redwood Red blend from Woodenhead is the winery. Doesn't say in the front label, but it says in the back label. And then the last one that we're going to be tasting, see that? Oh, it's like totally blown out.
It's like we got to get it back to.
I know. Is the King Chancho Red Blend from Central Coast, California.
I actually don't mind it being all blown up because my skin looks.
It's probably.
Oh, look at that! It wherever my hand goes, that's what it's.
What do you? Would you stop touching me? Would you stop touching me?
Wherever my hand goes, that's.
Remember, you're not supposed to touch your face. You're not
sorry.
supposed to touch my face.
We can do that because we're together. We're COVIDing together.
We can swap spit.
We're COVIDing together. So, okay. All right.
So first wine, the Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc, Reserve Sauvignon Blanc, and in as much as I don't believe that in New Zealand wine country the word reserve means anything legally, just like in the United States, reserve is the word, not bird is the word, but reserve is the word, doesn't mean anything as far as legality. In place in Italy, a couple weeks ago when we tasted the Rioja.
Reserve us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But this is the reserve, and Lorene says, and she'd know because she orders all of our wine pretty much. She says this wine is not available anymore. We don't know if it's made anymore, but it's not available anymore through our distributor.
So this is the reserve, as he mentioned. There is the non-reserve, which I really enjoy that wine too. This is actually one of my favorite Sauvignon Blancs. I really like the reserve. Actually, we're talking to our distributor a few weeks ago, and she told us that the reserve is no longer available. Whether that means they are not making it, or it's not available in Wisconsin, or not available through our distributor any longer, the non-reserve still will be. So we want to make that very clear that they are two different wines. That one is, I think, more like a $20-ish bottle, and as you all know, this is closer to $30. Delicious also, but not as good as this one, and I'm really bummed. I actually brought a case of it home after I heard that. So,
and we don't carry the normal Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc. It's right everywhere. Well, and it's literally like everywhere. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in, and I was having a conversation with somebody who's actually on tonight, this past weekend, about some of the wines that we carry and how a really big wine store in southern Wisconsin didn't have several of the wines that we were tasting and offering, which for us, that's fantastic because that means we're making selections that really represent a boutique, a niche, whatever, in the market. And we want to do that because we don't want to compete with the groceries. They can blow us out of the water with volume and loss leaders and all sorts of stuff. All right, can we taste?
Let's taste.
Well, they've already been drinking. All right. So you've got the text sheet and you've got a map of New Zealand. So you can check this out. The biggest wine growing region as far as volume and grapes land under vine is Marlborough. Marlborough is on the north tip of the southern island. The other one that you hear a lot of is Martinborough, which is on the south tip of the North Island. And you actually don't see that on the map that's here. Marlborough is really kind of what put Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand on the map, and that is their signature wine. It is the grape that when you think of New Zealand wine, you think white and you think Sauvignon Blanc. When you talk about the other grapes they produce, Sauvignon Blanc is number one. Number two is Pinot Noir, and then it sort of breaks down from there. I think it goes like Riesling, Pinot Gris. Then I think it's Riesling and Chardonnay and Syrah and Cab. Those are way down at the bottom. And the reason for that is the climate. It doesn't get super hot there. It's about 40 or 41 degrees south latitude. And with that, it doesn't get extraordinarily warm. Mentioning latitude, when we talk about wine education and where vines grow on the planet, they typically grow between 30 degrees north latitude and 50 degrees north latitude, and then 30 degrees south latitude and 50 degrees south latitude. So if you look at the globe, that band around encompasses all the great wine regions. Because we're a coffee shop, you should also know that the coffee belt lies between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And so the vast majority of coffee is grown between those two. There are some exceptions now. There's a guy out in California that's growing coffee, but it's not super commercial. So
the reason that's relevant, because he gets long-winded, but the reason that's relevant is, well, there's a lot of reasons, but an interesting thing that's happening right now, and Ron just mentioned it, is that as the weather is changing and the climates are changing, where grapes are grown, beans are grown for coffee, is also changing. But right now, it's still very specific because grapes can't grow in colder and hotter climates.
Right. So Kim Crawford is a winery. Started in 1996. It was started by the owners, Kim, and right off the bat, Kim Crawford is a guy. Kim Crawford is male. His wife is Erica, and they started the brand. And he had been a winemaker for some time for a lot of other people. And he started the brand, grew it, and sold it in 2003 to Constellation. And seriously made a lot of money. But then he was stayed on for some time. Both he and Erica stayed on and worked in the winery to build the brand. And then he left. He had a non-compete clause. And now they actually started doing another wine. It's sort of an organic, biodynamic wine called Love Block. And we have not seen those in the market yet, although I believe they are probably imported to the U.S., and we're going to look into them. And if we can get them, we'll bring them in because I suspect they'd be fabulous. To give you a little bit of idea of scale, Love Block, what they currently do, makes, I think, about 27,000 cases, I think.
Oh, that seems like a lot.
27,000? That's not my
Oh, well, no, I guess. Cases.
Yeah. Kim Crawford, in 2018, the number I found, they make 1.8 million cases.
Well, that's a big winery.
Huge. That's a huge winery.
Yeah.
Their exports, just Kim Crawford alone, they make up a substantial percentage. I'm not saying a majority, but a big percentage. I think it was 5% of New Zealand's wine exports or something. I mean, they're huge, tremendously big.
Let's talk about the wine itself.
Okay, the wine itself. Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is the grape variety, and Sauvignon Blancs make great, refreshing, typically high-acid wines. The winemaking there's not a lot to discuss as far as winemaking because it's typically not aged in oak, mostly not. There are some places where they'll do a Sauvignon Blanc in oak. In fact, Robert Mondavi created Fumé Blanc, which is Sauvignon Blanc, maybe aged with a little bit of oak. And so they're typically stainless steel, bright acidity, fresh, enjoyable.
Crisp. Clean. And you really get that in here. And we've got a lot of people commenting already on it. And I agree. Totally grassy. Grassy is characteristic of Sauvignon Blancs, especially New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs. Grapefruit, definitely got the grapefruit. Pineapple, I actually really get the pineapple in here. And I think it kind of rounds it out maybe a little bit more. And maybe that's why I like the reserve versus the non-reserve. The other thing, we've mentioned the term caddy several times in the last, what are we at, week 8? 7? I don't know.
8, I think. I think
8.
This is 8.
Several times we've mentioned the word caddy. Caddy is just a term that is used to describe wine, and specifically New Zealand or Sauvignon Blanc in general, but especially New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So what is caddy? Caddy is ammonia smell. That's a nice way to say it. But it is basically cat pee. Do you get this in this wine? Yep, it's there. Not off-putting. I don't mean, but it's there. You definitely get... I definitely get it. I shouldn't tell you what you get. Oh, I screwed up colors again.
It'll come back. Don't worry.
So look at that. It's like I'm magic. So anyway.
You're goofy is what you are.
So very good. Sarah says she's getting citrus peel and grass. Yes, definitely. Papaya. Melissa, interesting. Papaya, huh?
So a whole bunch of people have commented about grassy. And I joke occasionally that nothing makes me want to drink Sauvignon Blanc more than mowing the lawn on a hot summer day when I smell that grass and it reminds me of Sauvignon Blanc. Which reminds me that Lorene and I occasionally joke that when we smell something, that we always talk about what we get in wine. So when I mow the grass, I always say, "Oh, it smells like Sauvignon Blanc." And I don't know why it doesn't translate the other way. So like when you smell raspberries or dark fruit, you ever think, "Oh, I smell Cabernet." Yeah, wine.
Or when you smell grapefruit, you don't think, I smell Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc. But
another way to, like people say caddy, C-A-T-T-Y, not caddy, as in the person who,
caddy.
or you can be caddy, or you can have a caddy carry your golf clubs. None of those. But caddy as in feline. And so I've also heard people talk about that there's feline characteristics, and that just means cat pee. It is what
maybe
it is.
that's a little bit nicer than
Feline?
the way I say it. Feline.
Feline.
Feline. Although that makes me think meaty, and that doesn't sound very good.
Feline?
Well,
since when do cats
you
make
don't.
you think
That's what I'm saying. It's like roadkill. I don't think that sounds very good. So let's stick with caddy. I'm sticking with the caddy. Oh, and I just screwed up our color again. So Liz says she gets a lot of lemongrass, and I would agree. Maybe a little softer than fresh cut grass, what Ron gets when he mows the lawn.
I think it's a little pithy. I think there's a good mouthfeel. I think it's got some character. I read a review of it, and the review I read was not very glowing. In fact, it got like 85 points, wine enthusiast. But the review actually said that they felt that the wine needed or perhaps could improve with a little bit of time in bottle. So like to age and integrate and soften. And of course, I didn't taste it whenever that review was, but I've tasted it several times since. And I think it's really enjoyable.
Yes.
I think it's better than 85.1.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. That's why it matters what you think. It doesn't matter what a reviewer thinks. Very nice wine. Should we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to, though. I might just drink this all night. Although the next wine I'm very excited about. The Redwood is the next wine, by the way. I'm very excited about it. Ron and I have had it, but it's kind of a cool wine because it is unique to us and unique to Wisconsin. And very few people in Wisconsin carry it. And probably nobody outside of Wisconsin, other than the tasting room, are carrying it.
So another thing that I learned about Sauvignon Blanc.
Backing up?
I am backing up. Well, you're going to appreciate this.
Okay.
This is like a side note for you, and it makes me think we should seek these out. And we have some people on here that can help us with this. So there weren't wine growing in New Zealand, relatively young, especially compared to the old world areas, mainly Europe. But even from the standpoint of the United States, it's pretty young. Grapes were planted very little in the 1800s, which is where a lot of grapevines were brought into the United States and started to get established in California and other places, Virginia, New York, and other places. But at some point in time, they were kind of like torn out and gone. It wasn't until 1973 that they really started planting more vines there. And a winemaker from Champagne went to New Zealand because of the cool climate. Cool climate because of the lower, more southerly latitudes, as well as the bodies of water, ocean, made for really good growing of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir for sparkling wines. And so that is a category that we haven't seen much of.
We haven't.
Sparkling wines from New Zealand.
I kind of want to try them.
So I think we have to seek them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, so I thought that was really interesting.
I think so too.
So cool climate, lots of sparkling, made in the traditional method. Guy moved there in 1975 and started doing that. So
that was very cool.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go ahead and talk about the next one.
I'm not going to talk about Iranis, but I'm excited about it. I already talked. Now your turn.
Okay, so next wine is the Redwood Red Blend. And this is, as you see, it's a North Coast red wine. The text sheet on this provides some information, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the wine and the winery. So Woodenhead is a really small producer, and we visited them several years ago. We visited them. They don't make a ton of wine. So we talked about how Lovelock, I think, was 27,000 cases. Kim Crawford is like 1.8 million. I suspect, although I don't know the exact numbers, but I suspect that Woodenhead produces a total of all of their wines. They do a lot of Pinot, a lot of Zin. Of all their wines, they probably produce less than 5,000 cases. If Tom is on here, I haven't seen him. Tom could tell us how many cases that Woodenhead produces. Super small production. And that's the cool thing when you travel to wine country. You can go to the biggest, most like historically established places, or you can go to these little teeny tiny places where you walk through the door and you're probably going to talk to the winemaker, the owner, and they make very few wines. This wine in particular was really touted as pretty much winery only. And as a winemaker, there are wines that you're going to put into distribution. The wines that you make more of, maybe some interesting wines are going to be great on a wine list at a fine restaurant. But then you got to sell wine out your door. When people walk through the door, when the tourists walk through, you got to have wine to sell them. And so there's stuff you can hold back and make winery only, tasting room only wines. And this is one of those wines. That being said, today's sort of finance and the economics of the pandemic put people in positions where if they can sell wine, they sell wine. That, and also our distributor has been connected to Woodenhead for a really long time, and so he is able to buy stuff that you won't see other places, and this is one of those wines. So they bought a bunch of it in. Woodenhead had a little bit left over. The distributor bought the rest of it, so you're not going to see this really almost anywhere, and you're not going to see it up here in north central Wisconsin. I don't think anywhere else. I think that we got the gig here. We got the gig. There's another wine from Woodenhead that our distributor purchased the entire vintage of, and we carry that one. It's a Pinot Noir, which is fabulous.
Which is what they're known for. Woodenhead does a lot of Pinot Noir. So this is a Woodenhead wine.
So the owner of Woodenhead, his name is Nikolai, and he cut his teeth. He sort of he went to college. He went to community college for horticulture and viticulture, and then started making wine with sort of on his own as a garage winemaker on his own. But then he went to work for William Salem, which is a iconic Pinot Noir producer, featured very heavily in the movie Sideways. But he started making wine with and for them.
And where's the name come from, Woodenhead?
So Woodenhead is the nickname of Nikolai that an old college girlfriend gave him because he was so stubborn. So she gave him the nickname Woodenhead. It stuck, and he uses it for his wines.
Well, us Americans I'm a little bit American-centric, and Nikolai's a hard name.
Yeah, he's actually Russian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So I can, yeah.
He's Russian, and this is interesting. I didn't look at the whole history of it, but he grew up in California on the Russian River, right in the Russian River Valley, and he's Russian. So I don't know if there's a huge settlement. We might have some people from Cali that can chime in and tell us. Yeah. This is the way that they describe their winemaking is Burgundian winemaking in California. So very little intervention. So everything's done by hand. Harvest is done by hand punch downs. They don't use pumps. They don't do a lot of mass production. Everything's small lots, small production that they're involved in.
So folks, as you're drinking it, get your swirling in, because I'm noticing that even as I'm swirling, it drastically changes from the point right now to swirl. It's very different. Yes, I'm getting all this. I'm getting the earthiness. Kim said it's like walking through the redwood forest in California. Power of suggestion. I love it. Black cherry, definitely earthy. I said earthy. I actually get a little perfume in it. And I get a little like earthy with a berry note to it and a little perfume note to it.
So from the text sheet, you can see this is a blend of several different sourced Zinfandels, then Pinot Noir, and then Charbonneau. Charbonneau is a grape that's also known as Bonarda. Bonarda, labeled Bonarda, you typically only see out of Argentina. We've had a few Bonardas over the years that we've been in business. But it's also related to a French grape, Bonarda, and then also, and the things that differ, but I think genetically it's similar to a Bonarda grape out of the Piedmont region of Italy.
So, as you heard, Ron commented, this is a lot of Zin. What we're talking about is a characteristic of the Zin with the fruit. Interesting comments on what people are saying about the taste versus the aroma. Zin is huge and big and bold, and often it's the one that makes your teeth purple. I love Zins. I've grown a little bit out of them as as I've gotten older, as my taste buds have changed a little bit. But this is, I still get the zin in here. Jammy, a little brambly. I think it's a little bit of both those.
Melissa commented, and I highlighted the comment here, that's very light for a zin-based wine. And I think that goes back to their winemaking techniques. They're not out to make big, heavy, extracted juice bomb zins or juice bomb wines. Remember the Burgundian style of winemaking in California. So it's going to be lighter, less extracted, more representative of the terroir, all done by hand and not really trying to like blow your palate out of the water. And so I think that's a great comment. It's a lighter style. It's not super extracted. It's not that big fruit bomb that we're sometimes used to for Zinfandels. Yeah. Go ahead.
But Elaine comments that she gets a little bit of rum-soaked raisins that she uses for making carrot cake. And I think that's a Zin characteristic.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
High alcohol, for those who are Zin fans, high alcohol is very characteristic of Zin. I don't know if this one, but that's
15.3 on the
15.3. I think that's kind of high. You know that if it's more than 16.
No, 17, I think.
Is it 17? More than 17, they have to pay higher taxes on it. So a 15.3 wine is actually fairly high.
But the requirement is also that it has to be labeled and it has to be within plus or minus.
Like 3% or something. I don't even know. 1%?
I think it's 1%. So plus or minus 1%. So you might see a wine that's labeled 15.3. It might actually be 16. And of course, if somebody makes a wine that's like near that threshold or above the threshold, they're going to label it lower so that they don't pay that higher tax.
So we've got a couple other interesting comments. Marnie says a little bit like cinnamon cloves. I think that's Zin. I think that's what I would equate that to. Barb, she got an interesting nose. She got a little fishiness on the nose. Ocean. I think what I would say when I smell it that I would equate to that is I get a little salinity, like salt water. That's what I would get. So, let's see. What are you getting?
A lot of everything. Everybody's hit on it. I actually find that the amount of Pinot, so it's like a roughly 72-ish% Zin, 19% Pinot Noir, and 9% Charbonneau if you add up all the Zins, the different sort of Zins. I think one of the things that I get out of it that I don't typically get out of Zinfandel is acid. And the Pinot Noir is what's going to add to the acidity. The Charbonneau might, but I think the Charbonneau does. It adds, typically known as a high acid grape. So between the Charbonneau and the Pinot Noir. And I don't know for sure, don't know the winemaker, but it wouldn't surprise me if the whole Burgundian mentality wants to make a food wine. And so you throw in grape varieties with higher acid points, Pinot Noir, Charbonneau, to drive that acidity because acid is a very big, I won't say big, it's an important element for food friendliness and for food pairing. And so when you get that little zip on the side of the tongue, you get some mouth water, really good, be great with pasta, be great with, I think this is acidic enough for tomato sauces, definitely pizza. We're not having pizza.
We're not having pizza.
Why do we feel like we always have to tell people we're not having pizza?
Because we have pizza a lot. So Tim got cocoa on the nose. I got the cocoa a little bit too. Chocolatey. And you got cigar and tobacco on the palate. Interesting. My palate was really, really fruity. What I would say is like when I pick fresh black raspberries out of the garden, not that it's in a garden, on the bush, that's what I get is black raspberry. I do get a little bit of that, really that earthiness, that walking through the forest floor. What are you doing?
I'm looking. I'm evaluating text, so I don't know what that is. Don't know, Bart.
I got a question. That is,
I have people that are helping me evaluate the tech. Might just be a reflection off the computer.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Are we moving on to the next one?
Anything else on this? Let me see.
Anything else you want to talk about? You talked about Woodenhead and where it got its name, and that it's primarily a Pinot house.
Primarily a Pinot house. You've got a main growing map of California wine regions, which if you haven't seen it before.
There it is.
So that's a pretty good map. It'll tell you lots of different places. And I think this one is North Coast. So North Coast, I think we talked about it, is like 6 different counties. You've got Sonoma, Lake, Mendocino, Napa, a little bit of Solano, and Marin County. So those 6 counties make up the North Coast AVA. And the Pinots, he sources, I think, a lot out of Mendocino and Sonoma. It's a good map. I like maps.
He's geeky about his maps.
I like maps. I like wine maps especially. Really like wine maps.
He gets a little geeked out on regions and what the influences of the ocean and the Tropic of Cancer versus the Tropic of Capricorn, and I can just throw out words.
Nothing to do with wine.
I can just throw out words.
Because they're not even in the wine belts.
That's because that was coffee. I can just throw out words that Ron uses, and yes.
Words.
So, let's move on.
10 extra bonus points if you can name the movie that came from.
Words.
Words.
I can't. I'm not a movie person.
I suspect Liz probably knows it.
Liz is on. We'll see if she's... Yes.
All right. So the last wine of this evening, unless we go to the fridge and grab another one.
Grab another, which we always have lots of options. Oh, interesting.
And we have not had this wine yet.
We have not had this wine. That bottle is interesting. Y'all saw it?
So this bottle it's a short, stubby.
It's a pain in the butt for us to put on our racks.
I hate when people want to get unique and whatever.
Yeah, it's a pain for us to put on the racks. You know how our wine racks are. It doesn't fit that well. So
it does not. So we have not had this wine yet. And I was making fun of the name King Chancho, and there's a big picture of a boar on it. Well, there's a story behind that. And if you spent time reading the back of the bottle, and if you haven't, do that now. Otherwise, I'll tell you the story. But that's the story of King Chancho. So this is from Central Coast. It is called Bandito's Blood Red Blend. So the story goes that there's a gentleman. Well, let's talk about the wine first. I'll talk about the story while you drink.
All right.
So it is 54% Zinfandel, 18% Merlot, 10% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Petit Syrah, which is different than Syrah, and then 6% Petit Verdot. Interesting thing is that when you look at that blend, the grapes of Merlot, Cab, Petit Verdot are Bordeaux varietals, and then you've got Zinfandel and Petit Syrah blended into it. So it's kind of like a wannabe Bordeaux blend with Zin and Petit Syrah. This is really designed to hit the red blend category of wine. So if we were at a, let's say, a distributor's meeting, and we were talking about where this sits, it would be a competitive of the sort of menage a trois, basically that sort of kitchen sink red blend, apothic, exactly. And
nothing wrong with those wines, by the way. We're not saying that. We're saying it's equivalent.
No, we're not saying it.
We're saying
that's the market that it falls in. We're not saying it's the equivalent. So the thing that I find about some of those wines is that they are a little bit pumped up. And if you really analyze them, the sweetness level in them is such that they are slightly sweeter. And we can talk all about sugar levels. But if you look at this one is residual sugar is 0.7 grams per 100 milliliters. So that's 7 grams per milliliter, correct?
I don't know. I was responding to a question. A blend is more than one.
No, that's okay. That's 0.7 per 100 milliliters. And so that'd be, I think, 7 grams per milliliter, I think. Or it'd be 7.
First of all, we're talking liters and milliliters, and that's above.
I know,
Remember, I
metric.
grew up in
I know.
the 80s. We didn't do any of that. Metric? What was that even a word?
You did not grow up in the 80s. You were born before.
I mean, I was in grade school in the 80s. In high school, we didn't learn when I grew up. We didn't learn metric system. I grew up in central Wisconsin in the 70s and 80s.
So anyway, the chances are this wine has just a little bit of that sugar characteristic to it. Tastes sweet, not sweet like a dessert wine, not sweet like sugar, but it's got that juiciness. It's got that sort of lushness, and it's got that drinkability where it's just an easy wine to consume, falls right in there. But I think this one, for my couple tastes, I think is better.
All right. It's a little more of a crowd pleaser, what I would call a crowd pleaser.
Other way around.
Other way around. I do get the oakiness.
0.7 to 100 is 7 to 1,000.
Ah, thanks, Ron. Or thanks, Sarah, for correcting Ron.
That seems backwards, though, because that means there's like zero, like there's absolutely no sugar in this.
No, it's big fruit. It's big fruit. Maybe there's mega purple in this. I did not say that out loud. I'm just surmising. That does not mean there's mega purple in here. I actually think the nose is oaky-ish. Cigar. This is where I get cigar. I get cigar more in this than I got in the other one, which I got more forest.
Super juicy.
Oh, that's on the palate.
Yeah, on the palate. Super juicy.
What'd you say the blend was again?
It is Zin, 54 Zin,
Another
18
Zin.
Merlot. So this one's 54 Zin. The last one was 72 Zin. This one is, even though it's less Zin percentage-wise,
more characteristic.
I think it's more characteristically Zin, although it's just like big, juicy, jammy.
Little bramble in this.
I don't get that at all.
That's what I think I'm smelling is the bramble. Bramble, like the vines get all like
Brambly.
Yes.
So,
he wrote a lot about this. He's got a lot to say.
This is the story in the back of the bottle.
Oh, he can't read the little print, so he's got to write it
I
out.
can read it.
Oh.
Should I read it by
Tell a story.
Campfire story?
Sure, tell us a story.
Legend has it that Jack A. Powers, the notorious leader of the Central Coast's most infamous Bandito gang. He was a leader of a gang. That's why it's called the Bandito Red Blend. And I don't think it's the Bandito Motorcycle Club, which is a totally different thing. But if you Google it, that's what you get. Central Coast's most infamous Bandito gang met his gruesome demise in November of 1860 when he was mysteriously murdered and his body left to be ravaged by a pack of wild hogs. Witnesses claim that mad King Chancho, known throughout the valley for his powerful stature and terrifying growl, was the last hog seen leaving the grisly scene, which left only Powers' skull and a few large bones to be buried. That's the story. This rustic wine is sourced from vineyards that King Chancho was known to roam, big, bold, and blood red. King Chancho's Bandito's Blood Red Blend is the stuff legends are made of. So, editorial note, I hate wines that tell a stupid story. It just doesn't tell you anything about the wine. It's stupid.
Catchy.
It's a waste.
It's a sales pitch.
It's a waste of a label.
It's a sales pitch.
It's a waste of a back label. It doesn't tell me about the wine. Tell me the blend. Tell me the technical
This is
stuff.
geekiness out. He doesn't understand marketing. He is not a marketing fan.
I market, but market with knowledge, not some fanciful story that is actually factually incorrect. So Jack Powers was actually a real dude. He was the leader of he was actually an Irish guy, immigrant Irish, born in Ireland, moved to New York, then moved to California, fought in the American-Mexican War. Let's see. During the gold rush, he is a well-known professional gambler and horseman. He roamed around San Francisco, Santa Barbara, L.A. He was allegedly involved in the murder of 2 cattlemen. And in 1858, the governor of California issued a reward for him. It was a $500 reward to kill some Irishman. I mean, there's some Irishmen on here, I bet, but that's not much for an Irishman. I mean, they're worth more than that, I think. And he fled to Mexico. So tail between his legs, he flees to Mexico, and then reportedly ran a hotel, bought a ranch in Arizona. And in 1860, the more factual information is that he was killed in Arizona because he and one of his ranch hands, which they refer to as peons, which is the proper definition of the word, peon, somebody who's just like a nobody worker, which is me at Vino Latte. He was killed by one of his ranch hands because they had an argument over a woman. Go figure. A woman is at the root of all evil.
No. An argument. That does not mean evil. So, we have a quick question while Ron...
Then they allegedly dumped him in the pig pen to be devoured. Just like any good murderer knows, you throw them in at the pigs eat anything. Just don't throw your clay pigeons into the pigs because clay pigeons are not good for pigs.
Okay, we have several comments here. First of all, did you read cereal boxes as a kid?
As a kid, yes.
Do you now?
No. I don't eat cereal.
That's true. Yes, he would read the cereal box.
Not anymore.
The other serious question, I read cereal boxes. So
I like cereal boxes when they have like facts and figures. I don't need them to tell me a fancy story. I want like facts, like trivia facts, like when you're a kid and you read them. It's like reading the magazine highlights, and they have like the fun things that you learn.
Oh, highlights! I like that magazine. Do they still make that magazine?
Yeah.
Do they?
I think so.
Well, that's good.
You should make highlights for adults because it's good to exercise your brain, and they could have hidden, like remember the things where you had to find the hidden things.
They still make those. It's called Where's Waldo.
No, that's different. No, highlights had the hidden thing.
Yes.
But they should make an adult. Like they should where's the wine bottle?
That we do this after we've been drinking.
Right.
Sounds like a fun game. We have several comments about the term that we use, a gateway red, and I don't think Kristen is on tonight. But Kristen is also somebody who would definitely know what a gateway wine is. But we had other comments about gateway wine, and somebody wants to know what a gateway wine is. We had people comment on what a gateway wine, and all of those are absolutely correct. Ron, what is a gateway wine?
So typically when people start drinking wine, they start with sweet wine. And again, going back to some things I probably said already, and you listen to me after we're on week 8. After 8 weeks, I just start repeating things because I don't know anymore.
There's always more to know. You know how you know that you actually know a little bit about wine? You recognize you don't know anything about wine because there's always more to know.
And you can just
geek out like he does.
Spew forth the same things that you always spew forth, and you're good.
About the water and Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer.
That's coffee.
Anyway, keep going about your gateway.
So generally speaking, when we start drinking wine, we start drinking sweet wines because that's what our palate Sarah's weighing in about evil women.
Oh, keep going.
Oh, evil women? Oh, not women? No, evil women. Evil women. What song is that?
That's a song.
Evil Woman. Mm-hmm. Did anybody get my movie reference? Words.
Go on with the gateway. We're not done yet. You're like ADD.
Yeah. I told you my brain
was back. I told you, bring it back.
So when people start drinking wine, they generally start drinking sweet wine because as kids, we're sort of programmed to like sweet things, juices, soda, fruit, all those things that have a lot of sugar. So that's what we sort of gear towards when we start drinking wine. When you do that, you really reach for things like Rieslings, Moscatos, White Zins, all those things that have higher sugar. And red wine, especially dry red wine, becomes one of those things that's like too bitter, too much, not really palatable because of the quote-unquote bitterness of it, and it's not sweet. So in making the transition from white wine to red wine, especially from sweet whites to dry reds, there's a couple of wines that really fit the bill for what we call crossover wines or gateway wines. And one of them, and Kristen, who's a friend of ours and customer, years and years and years ago, we sold her a bottle of Dornfelder, which is a German grape. It's typically a light-bodied red wine, fruit forward, easy drinking.
Probably a lot of RS, which is residual sugar.
Yeah, a fair amount of residual sugar. And that is the wine that introduced her to red wine character without the red wine bitterness. And so those wines play a super important role in drinkability, in easiness, and in a growth and a transition of wine drinking. When you go from drinking just Moscatos to drinking big Cabernets, you generally don't jump from one to the other. So there's this transitional phase. And we think about wine drinking, wine enjoyment as very transitional. I talk to people often, and they say things like, "Oh, I really, really love wine." And I say, "Really, what do you like to drink?" And they say, "Well, I drink Riesling." And I contend, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, but I contend that somebody who only drinks Riesling really likes Riesling.
And doesn't branch out.
And doesn't branch out. And that's great. That's fine. But as soon as you start drinking a whole bunch of different wines, and you like to drink different wines with different food in different settings, and as Lorene, when we go to trade tastings, and we'll taste 100 wines, 150 wines, and we're spitting and dumping and not drinking and consuming. Lorene has made the comment that she's so excited about the next wine. So she's got the wine in us. She's like, "Oh, this is really good. This is really good. I'm excited." And she wants to try the next wine. And it's this transitional thing. It's this exploration. It's what does the next wine hold? And when you get to that point, and a lot of you, because you've joined us on this weird Facebook journey of tasting wines, and we name 3 wines and you buy them, this is the path you're on. You're on the path to enjoying wine because you're tasting, you're listening to me blather on about wine, and you're realizing there's more to whatever it is that you typically only drink this wine. Many of you have already done this, but I'm sure there's some of you, we've tasted wines you've never tasted before, or varieties, or regions, or styles. And that is what it means to...
That's the fun. That's the excitement. That's
enjoy wine. Get into it. And you don't have to geek out knowledge-wise. You can geek out tasting-wise.
So Ron kind of answered your question very little, Kim. You asked, how do we search for wines? I know, just wait. How do we decide? Ron has mentioned this very briefly in the past. He talks about how we look at a wine, the value for the varietal, for what it is, for what we need, for what sells. If it represents what it should be, and we need that price point, and we like it, even though we don't like it, or even though it's not our varietal, or even though it's whatever, or even something as simple as a customer asks us to bring something in, that will make us bring in a wine. A distributor says, "Hey, I got this great wine," which was the King Chancho. We had not tried this. Distributor said, "Hey, I got this great wine. I think it'd be great for what you're doing." We trusted them. We brought it in. Unusual. We don't usually do that way. Fortunately, yeah, I guess it's fortunate. Mm-hmm. This is part of the joy of why we do the shop. We taste most of the wines. So a lot of it is based on what we like and what we think a wine should taste like. So we don't drink sweet wines.
Rarely. Once in a while.
Yeah. But we taste sweet wines. And if we think a wine is what it should be, that's for the price point. That's often how we will decide. But there's so much that goes in. What do we need right now? We need sweet whites. We always need sweet whites. We always need sweet reds. We're always bringing those in. So that's one way that we bring them in because we need them. So. And then we now have people who have commented on what Ron said. Words are from. And let's see who's right.
I only see Barb.
Barb and Angela.
What Angela say?
Angela says it's Monty Python. See, there it is.
No.
Okay.
I believe, if my memory is correct, it is from Roxanne with Steve Martin. When he is...
Roxanne.
Yes, that's the song.
That is the song.
That is the song. Sing it for us.
Nope, I can't sing. Sorry, I apologize. You all had to experience that.
It is from the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin, where he is hiding in the woods and trying to tell the big hunky fireman what to say to Roxanne, who the big hunky fireman is trying to. And he's got like a ear mic or something, and it falls out or something weird. And so the guy's just going, words, I can't find the words. So
Sarah thinks it's Last Exorcist. I would never watch that. I don't watch horror movies, but maybe you're right.
Words from Last Exorcist.
I would never watch it.
No, she doesn't like horror movies. Like, doesn't like anything like horror, scary, or anything.
Like even watching CSI, I have to cover my eyes.
That's a lie.
Well, if it's scary, I don't like it.
No, you have this. That's not the scary you don't like. You don't like the jolt, like the.
Oh, I hate.
That's
being
not
startled.
like scary. You don't. Your startle reflex is like horrible. She'll be on the couch and she'll just be like watching, and I'm like, don't jump, and then all of a sudden it happens. She's like, and she spills her wine.
And we have white carpet. Well,
from
sort
her
of white carpet.
Startle reflex. It's
not good. So anyway, we are getting near our time. So Sarah, I am curious if it is Last Exorcist. Let's figure that out. Hamlet said it first. Oh, Mark says Hamlet says it first.
Not if your house is on fire, Bart. And they're called firefighters, not firemen.
Yes, very true. We love firefighters.
But I do have a couple of good firefighter jokes.
So.
Yes, Barb. Roxanne is based on Cyrano de Bergerac.
All right. Sarah's going to send us a link about Exorcist or Last Exorcist. Basement Savers. What? Oh. Yes, Ryan. Basement Savers.
Yeah. So I'll highlight that one.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So anyway, we're getting to the nearing our end. And as a reminder, next week, our anniversary, we are celebrating with you. And we will have Corey from Dusted Valley. We have 2 wines from Dusted Valley, one from Boomtown, which is one of his labels. It's his second label. We also have wines if you want to buy more of his wine. We have other wines available at Wausau. I don't think we do at Weston. So if you want to buy a Chard, which is what I would probably be drinking, that's available. And then 15 minutes beforehand, we're going to get on, and it's going to be Ron and I toasting with a bottle of sparkling champagne, actually, not just sparkling champagne. And I'll pick it, and we will put that on Facebook. And if you want to join us, please do, with either the bottle we're drinking, and we'll talk about it, or a bottle of your choice. Or you can just toast with the wines in front of you, or a glass of water. I don't care.
Right? Whatever. Fireman's motto. Fireman's motto. Eat till you're tired, sleep till you're hungry. Right?
Do we have any firemen on? We love you. We're not insulting.
Firefighters.
Fire people.
They could be fire women.
Fire people.
Firefighters. We saw we were down in Point today. We went to Belts today. We like Belts.
We do.
We also like bricks. Don't get us wrong. We just happened to be in Point, but we had Belts today.
Yeah.
And I saw a big Stevens Point Fire Department truck, and I was like, "Ooh, shiny truck." And she's like, "What did you say? Something like, does it have to be, or is it?" I said, "Well, what else did they have to do? Wash their truck."
Yes, it was a big shiny truck. It was very pretty. Yeah. So.
But I love firefighters.
We need them.
Yeah, we do. We need them,
we
and
need them.
And both Ryan, who was making the Basement Savers comment, and I know a firefighter who's also and Ryan knows him very well, a sheriff's deputy who many years ago lost his life in a fire. which is.
And this is National Law Enforcement Week, so.
This is National Law Enforcement Week. So with that, Lorena and I, we were married on May 18th. And it is, traditionally, it's always right there in or near National Law Enforcement Week.
So we always like to toast them. We always like to toast because we can't join them because usually we are celebrating our anniversary. So we're going to close tonight very seriously.
Very seriously.
And I'm going to choose I'm going back to mine.
The National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial is located in Washington, D.C. And it is a very touching place because it documents the deaths of many, many police officers, way too many police officers. And so to all of those who gave all, cheers to all the cops in the world, living, dead, working, not working, retired, all of them. So National Law Enforcement Week.
Everybody else is important too. Don't get me wrong.
It's
National Law Enforcement Week.
It's actually been canceled because of COVID, and they're doing a whole bunch of virtual stuff. And you may remember that we did a wine tasting a little while ago for the before the whole COVID thing for the Police Unity riders, and so we had those guys at Weston, and they were going to be riding. This week, instead, they're doing some rides on their own. They're posting it. They're virtually doing it. They're going to have a virtual candle lighting, which is the huge ceremony that they typically do. So if you go to National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, just Google that. It's like NLEOMF.com or something. Do it virtually. So cheers.
Cheers.
See you guys next week.
At
Monday,
6:45.
6:45.
In my wedding dress.
Bubbles. What?
Cheers.
Cheers. I gotta stop.